Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice to see you all. I'd like to start off by thanking Ming for inviting me to this teaching and learning conference. It's always very nice to be given the opportunity to pontificate on things that you don't know very much about, like law or education. So thank you for that. When I was asked about it to start with, I completely forgot about it. And a couple of weeks ago, I was driving into work thinking, I better have a think about this learning and teaching conference that's coming up. And there were two questions that arose in my mind. One was, how will I start off? And the other one was probably more important, what will I talk about? I didn't have a clue. I certainly wasn't going to stand up in front of a group of professional colleagues and start giving them tips on how to be good teachers. So I'm going to start off by taking you back to Liverpool in the 1960s when I was at school. I know it's a bit of a rough start, but bear with me. What happened, there was an old boy at the school came back to give a talk, and he sort of stood at the front and said, I went to Yale, so I'm going to talk to you about you, ambition, life and experience. This chap was a Labour MP. It was the Labour MP for Hull, Kevin McNamara. That was in the days when Labour MPs weren't an endangered species. So I thought, that's a damn good idea for me. So I'll make a start. I went to Yale. I'm going to talk to you about you, accessibility, learning and education. And then I thought, they're not going to believe that. And they'd be right. Unfortunately for you, I went to the University College of Wales, Aberystwyth. So this may take some time. Anyway, that was my first question. How do I start off? My second question was, what will I talk about? And those of you who were at the Learning and Teaching Awards will know that on a Tuesday, I buy The Guardian to look for jobs. Some of you may do the same thing. And so a couple of weeks ago, I bought The Guardian, and I was sort of leafing through it, looking for jobs. Obviously, I didn't find one. And I came across this article. So can you read this from the back? No, I didn't think so. Well, you'll have to find out what it says then, won't you? Self-harm replaces homesickness on campus. This is from 2 weeks ago. So I read through the article, and I was very concerned and worried about what it was saying. Because what it said is that the problems that students now have, and this doesn't just apply to universities, they've changed from what they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. Students then, their main worries were homesickness, their boyfriend, girlfriend had left them, and sharing a flat with new people. You know what it's like. You buy something, put it in the fridge, someone nicks it. It's still going on, isn't it, I dare say. And what I read through the article, and there was a quote in the article that struck a chord with me. I wonder when did getting less than a first become a failure? And this picks up something that Mark said. I had no idea what Mark was doing, believe me. And I picked up on the word failure. Now, failure is not something that's talked about in universities or schools with the tables and the focus on success and everybody getting high grades, A's and B's and all the rest of it. In fact, there's now a table of universities showing who gives the most firsts, and it's all this sort of stuff. So our system is full of tables. But what I wanted to talk about was failure and how we can make our students resilient to failure and how we can make our students see that failure is a stage in learning. And I came across a little book. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. It's a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, who's a psychologist at Stanford University in America. And she's come up with an idea of how people can be put in what she calls mindsets, how they view life, if you like. A fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And what she talks about is if someone has a fixed mindset, they believe that their talents and their abilities are fixed and they can't do anything about that. And the characteristics of someone with a fixed mindset are that they don't like to take any risks or they don't like to take any challenges. Now, if you think about it, we all come across students who say, oh, I can't do that, or that's too difficult for me. I even get students saying to me, don't forget I teach law, I can't do maths. Not quite sure how they bring that in. So students, some students are in this sort of fixed mindset and they think there's no need to make an effort. They believe they've just got their sort of fixed talents and abilities. Again, it picks up what Mark said. They fear failure. They are worried about failing things and they ignore criticism. And Carol Dweck has characterized this as having their ideas set in stone. Now, you can remember recently, Ed Miliband was going to set his ideas in stone and put them in the garden in Downing Street, and we know what happened there. Now, in contrast to the fixed mindset is the growth mindset. And Carol Dweck has pointed out that someone with a growth mindset is someone who has a more open-minded approach to things, and they believe that they can develop and they can improve by working hard. Okay? So they're prepared to take risks with things, and they will tackle difficult things. They're prepared to make an effort because they see that if they make an effort, they can improve. They're not just in this sort of fixed state. And thirdly, they will learn from failure, unlike someone with a fixed mindset. Okay? So, I've talked about these two things. Sorry, they're not my ideas, they're not original. But I think it's very important for us to see what we can do to help our students to become more resilient, to see that they can improve. And we don't want them, I mean, they worry all the time about grades. So in this article in The Guardian, the counsellors are talking about students coming to them if they get one poor grade. And, I mean, there are lots of examples, aren't there, of people, very successful business people who have had failures all through their careers. I don't know whether you can remember Richard Branson and Virgin Cola, because if you've tasted that, you'll know the taste of failure. But it hasn't stopped Richard Branson, has it? So Sorry, how am I doing for time? Am I rattling on too much? So the question is, how can we help our students to develop a growth mindset? And Carol Dweck came up with 5 things that we ought to try and do. First of all, give them formative feedback so they can take a chance, they're not going to fail, and we can encourage them to improve and to do better. Secondly, we need to challenge our students, set them difficult tasks, difficult things to do. Don't take the easy way out and just give them good grades. And very importantly, show them that they can make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. I tell them all the time, I make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes. If they're half competent, they will be fine, they will get a job. I'm just thinking of the plumber who recently came round to the house and did some work. The following day, there was water leaking through the bedroom ceiling, water leaking through the lounge ceiling. It was a mess. These are qualified plumbers. And the last couple of things is the importance of practice. That if you practice at something, you'll get better. You all know that, and I'm sure you get your students to work hard and to practice things. And another little book that I came across is a book called Bounce by the Times sports correspondent Matthew Said. Matthew Said became the Olympic table tennis champion, and he says really he wasn't really very good at table tennis, he just practiced. I think he's being modest, but his theory is, he's got sort of a famous quote that champions are not born, they're made. So what he's saying is people can work hard and do things and they will become better. So I must remember to get a table tennis bat on the way home, mustn't I? Okay, and finally, her last point was that what we should do with our students is to reward effort and not praise them for being intelligent. So then all students will work hard. It's not just picking out the A grade student. It's trying to appeal to all our students. Okay, so my message is that we can all help our students to develop a growth mindset, to develop their abilities, and they will improve and they will get on and they will get satisfaction from that. And finally, developing a growth mindset is equally important for all of us, for teachers, because if we have that open view and we then give that to our students, they too will develop a growth mindset. And I can go back over 40 years to when I started my first teaching job. I rang up the school at 12 o'clock on Thursday, asked for an application form. They said, don't bother with that, just come in. So I went into the school at 2 o'clock, sat down in the headmaster's office with the head and the deputy head, and then we discussed the job, and I said, oh no, I can't do that. Obviously I had a fixed mindset in those days. And he said, do you like cakes? I said, yes, I love cakes. So he sent out for a box of cakes. So we sat there for an hour, drinking tea, eating cakes, while they persuaded me to start work the following morning. It's been tea and cakes all the way since then. So I think we all face difficulties in our lives and we all face challenges. My challenge now is I'm growing old, I'm going grey, but I've got to develop resilience to that, and I've developed a strategy to deal with it.